All right then, everyone online, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Don Robinson. I am the CEO of Golden Leaf Holdings. Many of you on the call know about Golden Leaf, many do not. And the real purpose of this webinar today is the company is 2 weeks away or so from a U.S. listing, and we wanted to generate some new interest in the U.S. in our company as we begin to be listed in the U.S. market. My bio, I've spent 24 years with Mars Incorporated, the consumer goods giant globally, U.S., Canada, Latin America, Asia Pacific, China, Australia. I was the CEO with Mars from 1990 on, running various companies around the world. I retired in 2006 and then went to run Cara, the largest food service conglomerate in Canada with close to $2.5 billion in sales. I did that until 2013, and then I began my voyage of discovery in cannabis. Now, why would a corporate guy like me be in cannabis? Well, a lot of reasons, really. But if you look at our company vision, which is right there on the first screen, revolutionizing health and well-being, improving lives with cannabis. I started my research into cannabis and began to discover so many anecdotal stories about how cannabis improves lives. And I have my own personal story. A friend of mine, his son was the captain of the Canadian rugby team, studying his MBA in Cambridge and planning his European rugby career. In a game, he sustained a career-ending injury and spent the next 3 years in bed in massive chronic pain to his neck. And he was on a variety of opioids during that process, pharmaceuticals, and they didn't work. Somebody suggested that he try cannabis. He wasn't really familiar with cannabis, having been an elite athlete all his life. And anyways, he tried it, and high CBD product, and he became functional, got out of bed, and has been productive and active ever since. And there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of stories like this. Cannabis is nature's magic medicine. It's been around since time began. The ancient Chinese used it 10,000 years ago. It's just happened to be illegal for the last 80 or so years. So that's one reason, a bit of a cause element to it. The second really is this industry has existed. It's just moving from black market into the regulated market. And the industry is professionalizing at a very rapid rate. And I thought it would be very challenging and very interesting to apply my corporate experience from consumer goods into this very emerging and early stage global industry startup, because it is legalizing on a global basis in various pockets of the world. And so it's essentially the end of prohibition, and I thought it'd be just a tremendous career challenge to be involved in that, the creation of a new industry. And really, we're talking about a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for wealth creation as cannabis goes from the black market into the regulated market. So that's really what our company is about: revolutionizing health and well-being, improving lives with cannabis. Now, Derwin, could you show the soil to oil video and audience what it really does? It's a short video which pretty much lays out what we do at the company, and then I'll further highlight it afterwards.
Golden Extracts is Oregon's premier CO2 cannabis oil provider. We produce 100% natural cannabis oil using best-in-class techniques. In our extraction, we use the best medical-grade CO2 available, which is a naturally occurring, non-flammable substance. Our premium products start with premium plant material. All plants that are sourced from external farms are put through extensive testing to ensure there are no pesticides or chemicals present, just pure 100% natural cannabis. We extract the essential cannabis oils with a state-of-the-art closed-loop extraction system. During extraction, the CO2 solvent is contained in the system and recaptured at the end of the process. This ensures the CO2 never comes into contact with external elements. The extraction system has three main components: the extraction vessel, the separator, and the accumulator. First, the extraction vessel is filled with the cannabis plant material known as trim. The system is then charged with liquid CO2 until a desired temperature and pressure is reached within the extraction vessel. Once the CO2 is set to the correct temperature and pressure, the system is able to extract the essential oils from the trim. We capture the CO2 in between its liquid and gas state, which is called its supercritical state. Due to the pressure and temperature, the CO2 wants to be a liquid and a gas, but it's neither. It takes on the properties of both elements, which allows it to effuse through solids like a gas and dissolve materials like a liquid. The CO2 in cannabis mixture flows from the extraction vessel to the separator, where the pressure is lower. Due to the change in pressure, the cannabis oil separates from the less dense CO2, and the CO2 is recirculated through the closed-loop system. The cannabis oil is then removed from the separator and prepped for further processing. The extracted cannabis oil is then mixed with pure alcohol on a molecular level, which is referred to as emulsification. This mixture is essential to bond the alcohol and cannabinoids together, so when they're crystallized, we can separate the lipids from the cannabis oil. During filtration, the crystallized oil is run through a Buchner filter to separate the lipids from the cannabinoids. The alcohol is then distilled from the cannabinoids, refining the cannabis oil. The result is a highly concentrated pure cannabis oil. From soil to oil. Our advanced CO2 extraction techniques are safe, clean, and pure, resulting in a premium 100% natural cannabis oil. To learn more about Golden Extracts, please visit our website at www.goldenextracts.com.
So in summary, on this chart, this is really what we're all about. At the end of the day, we are bringing a big food consumer goods approach to cannabis for a bunch of reasons. We believe that the cannabis industry is going to become a consumer goods branded business where consumers, like in any other consumer good category, rely on their brand, trust their brand for consistent quality and consistent experience delivery every time. You know, a big food approach with big best practices is important because at the end of the day, we are manufacturing food products in an FDA environment, and our food products are being ingested and or eaten by consumers. And then the other big situation with big food best practices is, you know, for the industry to thrive, the prices in the regulated market have to be lower than the black market. And to do that, you need to get the inefficiencies out of the supply chain. And this is really facilitated by bringing big food best practices to cannabis. So that's really what we're trying to do. We have an excellent team, and you know, it's key in this industry to have a marriage of cannabis experienced people and corporate experienced people. The cannabis people that have been in the industry know lots about cannabis, which is important, and you know, can use help in terms of how to run a business. And then the corporate side, you know, needs help in terms of understanding cannabis, and then they bring the how to run businesses. So that marriage is key. At the end of the day, we are concentrating on three things, and it's there in the bottom of the chart. One is, you know, lowest cost value add manufacturing. We're a manufacturing business. And then consumer goods marketing, developing a brand portfolio, and consumer goods selling. And again, the whole notion around the lowest cost value add manufacturing of highest quality products is important because, again, you have to get the regulated prices below the black market for the industry to survive. Otherwise, you know, the black market will simply continue. We view, you know, there's a lot of discussion about medical and recreational, and we don't really look at it that way. You know, all markets start off as medical marijuana, and then they evolve to complete legalization. But if you look at the ailments that cannabis can treat, on the bottom of that chart, there's a real continuum from very severe medical conditions, HIV, cancer, epilepsy, the list is endless, into more treatable health issues like chronic pain, which is debilitating to so many humans. And then there's the emerging concept around life relief that cannabis can provide. So whether you're using cannabis to help you through the side effects of cancer treatment so that you can eat, or whether you're using it on a Friday night to simply find life relief from a stressful week at the office, in all cases, you're improving lives with cannabis. That's how we see that the market involves. And as life relief comes into the picture, I believe that the percentage of cannabis users will climb, combined with medical research, which will prove the efficaciousness of cannabis in treating many, many different ailments. We are about developing a consumer goods brand portfolio. On the screen before you, you see our current brands, which are in operation in Oregon and Washington. So Golden is our biggest brand, Private Stash, Proper, Liberty Reach, Jackpot Seaweed, and Juju Joints. And there was a brand portfolio in Washington and a brand portfolio in Oregon, and we are simply importing the Washington brands into Oregon and the Oregon brands into Washington so that we have harmonized brands across the two states. But we are a consumer-driven branded company. We are developing a brand portfolio, across, on the left, a wide range of price and quality points, and along the bottom to address a wide range of different consumer segments. Again, I think I've referenced this. We are a value-added manufacturing and a consumer goods marketing and selling company. It's a simplified business model. We don't grow. We see that growing is commoditizing as more and more growers come on stream. We're already seeing the evidence of commoditization in grow pricing in the 4 recreational legalized states. So when you think of us, think of Heinz ketchup. Heinz never grew a tomato, but they made great ketchup. And so what we've simplified that business model because at the end of the day, you can't be good at everything. And cultivation is commoditizing, which will put pressure on grow margins. So how we, but at the same time, instead of buying trim in the open market, we have moved to a contract grow situation so that we have control and a consistent, ongoing, reliable source of raw materials. So we have an R&D greenhouse, 26,000 square feet, where we develop our strains. We then give small clones to our contract farmers, who then grow to our spec, and then harvest, and then give us back both flower and the trim from our genetics. How have we done so far? We're one of the largest oil and edible providers in North America. We're #1 in Oregon, with penetration over 280 dispensaries. I think we have a significant advantage with our strategic contract supply agreement. We have a tremendously strong management team with both cannabis industry and food industry experience. We've developed a lot of expertise through trial and error in cannabis oil extraction. And then after extraction, the even more difficult process is refining of the oil so that it's pure and it's clear and of the highest quality. And we've developed a lot of sales and marketing expertise in cannabis in the state of Oregon. And we also have a strategic partnership with a company in Washington, BMF Washington, one of the largest producers in Washington state. And that places us, we're operating with harmonized strategies across 2 states, which is a first. I don't think that this is any secret. A recent forecast predicted the U.S. market at $50 to $60 billion over the next 10 years or so. I believe it will get to that level faster. The train's already left the station on cannabis legalization, and in reality, although the U.S. is still federally illegal, the lead markets of where complete adult use is legal, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, and Alaska, actually are the lead markets in the world in terms of how cannabis will evolve, and we're operating in 2 of them. So cannabis is currently legal. I think it's now 26 states, 14 more expected by 2020, but there's 14 states expected to pass adult use laws by 2020. But importantly, and a real turning point is going to be the federal election in November, where California has it on the ballot to fully recreationalize, and Florida has got it on the ballot for full medicinal use. And if there's anywhere in the world that ever needs medicinal use of cannabis, it's Florida. And California, given it's so big, at these 2 states' turn will be far beyond the tipping point, and I think it'll really pave the way for much more rapid legalization. 83% of Americans think doctors should prescribe cannabis. 58% of Americans believe cannabis should be legal. 50% growth expected over the next 5 years. Yeah, it's just a matter of time. We're operating in Oregon and Washington, which is a very sizable market. When you put the 2 markets together, there's a market potential of $2.4 billion, which is sizable. That's at retail. At wholesale, that 2.4 is 1.8 billion. So 10% market share of that market is a $180 million business across the 2 states. So, a very sizable and a very attractive market. So again, how we will scale, we're concentrating on 3 things. I think, this is pretty much summary. Leading edge extraction and refinement, lowest cost, value add manufacturing business. The middle box, again, food, consumer goods approach to cannabis. We are making food products, and the industry will develop into a branded business. And then we're concentrating on consolidation. We're already operating in 2 states. The consolidation is happening in the industry now. There's lots of smaller operations in the industry that don't really necessarily know how to scale, and we think there's a tremendous opportunity for consolidation now. And then lastly, there's our management team, a group of 20-year plus food veterans combined with cannabis veterans. And I think in this industry, it's that marriage, and the management team with the most coherent strategy and access to capital is going to be what wins. So that was pretty much what I was going to cover today about Golden Leaf, and I'd be very happy to answer any questions that anybody might have at this time.
Okay, Don, the first question is, does the company have a U.S. listing?
I touched on that earlier, Derwin, and we've made all the applications. We are waiting for approval. We expect that to be 2 to 2.5 weeks from now, and it'll be listed on the OTCQB.
Next question. Why did Golden Leaf decide to list in Canada first? Did you touch on that already?
The times have changed dramatically. We listed in Canada a year ago as a Canadian company, and it was the attitude in Canada was more favorable to cannabis at that time. The licensed producers in Canada are all listed in Canada, and so we started in Canada because we thought that there would be stronger investor interest because of greater familiarity with the whole emergence of cannabis legalization. But things have changed dramatically in a year, and we think the timing is right. You know, the number of investor conferences in the U.S., the interest in the U.S. in terms of cannabis investments is rapidly escalating, and so we think the timing is perfect now to be cross-listed and co-listed in the U.S.
Next question. What drove you to make the jump from being president of Mars Canada and CEO of Cara Operations to leading a cannabis-infused products company?
I tried to cover that at the beginning. You know, one bit of a cause element to it. I think that, you know, this is nature's wondrous medicine. It's been helping mankind for thousands and thousands of years, and it's just not right that it's illegal and that there's people serving jail terms. I mean, cannabis can so dramatically improve lives that it should be legal. So there was that element. There was also the element that I realized the industry needed to be professionalized quickly with real business professionals coming into this industry. It is a real industry. It's going to be a very big industry. And I thought it would be very challenging to apply my corporate experience to the cannabis industry. And, you know, it's the end of prohibition all over again, and we've got a global industry startup. It's not just the U.S., it's not just Canada, it's Australia, it's New Zealand, it's Mexico, it's Uruguay, it's other countries in Latin America, and also all across Europe. This is a global trend, and I thought it would be fascinating to be part of that transformation. And then lastly, you know, I think there's some people are going to make a lot of money in cannabis, and so those three reasons were pretty powerful to me to enter cannabis.
Next question. How do you describe Golden Leaf products to a consumer? Are they considered premium, luxury, or value?
We're trying to, depending on which brand, we're trying to develop a brand portfolio which addresses different price points, from value to mid-market to premium to luxury. And, you know, we think that we'll be able to develop that brand portfolio, and, you know, we've recently had some success with that. You know, our leading brand is Golden, which is a premium brand, sells for pretty much $40 a gram at retail, and we've recently introduced a line extension premium to that in the luxury category called Private Stash, and, you know, that sells for $80 a gram, and it is flying off the shelf. So, I mean, our goal is to have a brand portfolio across value, mid-tier, premium, and luxury position points.
Next question. Does Golden Leaf have a vertically integrated business model?
No. No. You know, we started off there, and for a number of reasons, you know, we moved away from the growth side of the business. We think it's very important to have significant R&D around, you know, strain developments and the development of specific strains for specific ailments, but hence we have a 26,000 square foot greenhouse, which is an R&D greenhouse, and our grower is from Israel, who are the world leaders in terms of cannabis research, and so we think that's a critical element. But we don't want to grow because we see commoditization on the horizon, but at the same time we do want a source of consistent raw material, high quality, so we can put into our extractors, and that's why we've moved to this contract grow situation whereby we give them our clones. We develop the clones, we give them our clones when they're 4 inches high and take them back when they're 6 feet high, and the plants are grown to our spec and then returned to us. So we think we get the best of both worlds with this model. We don't run the risk of commoditization and crop failure, and we at the same time get access to high quality, consistent raw materials to be put into our extractors.
Well, thank you, Don. That concludes our Q&A session. If any audience members wanted to email you questions directly or Scott, how could they reach you?
Just email me directly at drrobinson@goldenxtrx.com.
Okay, well, thank you. Any last comments?
Are we able to accept questions from the audience?
Yes, they've requested that we'll just email the questions to you and answer the questions via email. Other questions.
Well, I look forward to your questions via email, and I will respond to you very promptly.
Okay.
And thank you everyone for your interest today, and please stay tuned and keep an eye on the evolving and growing and fascinating story of Golden Leaf.
Well, I thank you. We really appreciate your presentation.
Okay, bye for now.